evening. This is the Park Commission meeting of September 24th. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast over public access TV and will eventually be available on YouTube. Because we aren't live, I'm not going to read through the Zoom information, but for anybody on Zoom, please remain muted and use the raise hand feature when you are looking to speak. All right, to start off with, do we have any public or board comments? Do we have any public comments? I'm not seeing any hands. All right. Next up is the club. Is anybody from the club?
No one's coming.
Okay.
So they did, I told you to come in the future. I said if nothing is changing, then.
Okay, do you want to give us a quick
Sure.
rundown of what they're looking for?
So last year they did their polar plunge at the town beach. It was a big success for them last year. They'd like to do that again over Thanksgiving weekend on November 29th. So again, it seemed to go well last year. No real changes, Michelle said. Let me see. The one request that she had that was, she didn't, and then I think the impression was they didn't get on it quick enough. So I wonder if they could get a porta potty at the beach, but I guess the Board of Health had an issue last year.
They
And
asked
it
really late.
Seemed to be, like, she's like, I'm not sure. I said, what was the issue you ran into? And she'd sent me that screenshot. It just said, whoever she was texting with, it said, I kind of thought we just didn't think of it until kind of late. And we didn't have time to go through the proper channels.
Yeah.
So Michelle basically just said, what are the proper channels? And I said, I'll clarify so that you
Yeah, so
know
it's the Board of Health.
what you can do.
It would need to come through, I'd say the Recreation Director if we have one at that point. If not, it would come through Chris Ruth,
Okay.
and it would have to go through the Board of Health. Did she say if they were changing the times at all? Because I know last year I was the one who would let them in and out, and they seem to be done much quicker than, oh, I don't even have my audio on. That's good. All right, sorry to any members of the public on Zoom, I had you on mute. We did pass public comment, but if somebody does have a public comment, please feel free to put your hand up and we'll jump back to that. We are currently on agenda item 3, which is the request from the club to use Lunenburg Town Beach for their polar plunge. Sorry, Chris.
I think I remember last year you were talking about the length of time.
Yeah.
I think I remember Michelle saying she thought people were gonna do it and then hang out and it would be a big party and everybody like jumped in and
Jumped up
then left, wrapped up and left.
She said no changes other than allowing community members to join, maybe some activities on the beach like games, sandcastle. We were hoping to make s'mores, but not sure of the details.
Okay.
So I think they're trying to maybe make it something
Fill
that
that
people would
time
hang out
up.
a little bit,
Yep, which sounds like a great idea.
but somewhat weather dependent, I would assume,
My
as well.
one concern that I have on my list is, last year I'm the one who unlocked. I'm not sure I'm gonna be available this year to do the same. So I don't know if there's either another member of the commission or if somebody, I don't know if you wanna spearhead it and talk to Chris Ruth and maybe we can, where it's just a single day event, maybe we can hook Michelle up with a key.
With a key.
She can let herself in directly.
I'm usually in New Hampshire that Saturday. Or if that's a
So
Sunday, then I do
did you
around.
stay the
If
whole
it's a
time or
Sunday.
did you just
I
go?
didn't, I let them in and then I went home and then I went back.
Cause I can do that. It's like our, big tree decorating day with everybody
It's-
home, but I can
Okay.
run over and do that.
I would even just suggest,
I mean, if we could give her a key, that's even better.
yeah, and at the
but-
end
Yeah,
of
that
the
would be
day,
ideal.
they're in a town building anyway, they have complete access to the town building that they rent, so
Right.
I
Right.
can't see it would be a big issue, we can definitely ask. The only thing I would say, no matter who lets them in, whether it's themselves or you, last year what I did was I brought blue painter's tape and I put it across the sink and across the toilets as a reminder that these
it's
are
shut
not,
off, right?
it's not on. The sink isn't as big of an issue as if somebody decided to use the bathroom, the toilet, so that's what I had done, but I don't have,
You just go in ahead of time. If Michelle has a key, we need somebody going ahead of time. Just put blue tape.
and it was easy, I mean, I literally just went in, and then they just need to leave it the way they found it, which they did last year. Do you want to vote on this, or do you want to
if we need a vote, then,
Yeah, that would
to
probably
approve it,
be
then
the-
yeah, I think we should,
Okay.
then I can let them know to continue forward with their planning.
Okay.
So I guess motion to allow the club, formerly the Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg, to use the town beach on November 29th for their annual polar plunge fundraiser.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye
Aye.
for me. Perfect, that passes.
So I'll circle back with Michelle, and then if this, I'm assuming the early, if they wanna do that porta potty, the earlier they get on that, the better off they are, so probably contact
Correct.
Chris Ruth to get that
And
started.
it's
and
more Chris Ruth to just make sure the placement of it is where, usually the recreation director would approve, like, the location of where the porta potties are dropped.
then-
And then the Board of Health is the one that actually issues the actual.
So she would go to, their steps would be go to the Board of Health now,
Yeah,
request a porta potty for November 29th at Town Beach,
yeah,
and then contact Chris Ruth.
yeah.
So, okay.
And I mean, she could even just CC Chris on,
On the
she's sending an
request.
email over to
Okay.
Board of Health, so then he knows and, but yeah, okay. So that one passed. Next up is capital plan. Did everybody receive the list that I forwarded from Chris Ruth?
Yes,
Okay.
did, but I didn't print it out tonight because I thought I was gonna be able to access it on my computer,
That's
so,
okay.
sorry.
Do you want to take my lists, because then I'll pull it up on my,
Okay, maybe I'll send it.
ignore all my notes. Okay, so, the,
Do you want to read the list?
yeah, I will read the list. The threat, so just so everybody knows, the capital planning thresholds are, I feel like I should have looked this up before I came and not done it off my memory. $20,000 and a lifespan of 10 years. It's either 5 or 10 year lifespan. So no matter what we do, it needs to hit the threshold to start with, and it has to be good for, it must be 5 years. But I can verify that. So the things that Chris had on his list, Powell Field dugouts, regrading in the surface of Fitzgerald Field and add some additional fencing to prevent snowmobiles from coming in. Regrade and surface McNally. He did note that McNally is not as bad as Fitzgerald. Powell Field is not the correct infield size anymore, and it needs updated distances on the baselines. Marshall Park fence repairs, landscaping work at Veterans Park. He noted it may not meet the threshold. Town Beach, something possibly on the unused side of the beach. Fence repairs at the town beach to close up the gap underneath the fence. New lights at Wallace, again noted it might not reach the threshold. And a beaver deceiver at Marshall Pond, and that would be working with DPW to try to better control the beaver situation down there. I'm gonna go first and then you guys can all chime in. When I look at this list, the one that stands out to me the most, that I actually think it has the potential of being a safety issue, there's a couple safety issues, but the regrading and surfacing of Fitzgerald Field, that outfield is just, it's potty, like pothole type of situations going on. It needs a good leveling, especially where those are, it's a younger demographic of kids. That would be my number one request from all of this. Town Beach, the fencing, that's another one that I'm not sure would hit the threshold, but I do think that's one that could be repaired. And the Powell Field isn't the correct infield size anymore, needs updating distances on baselines. That would be at my bottom, and I'm gonna give the reasons why on that one, and that's because they made the decision to jump from the Little League to, I believe it's Cal Ripken, and it changed the dimensions. They never had a single conversation with anybody on this commission or the facilities before they did that to even give us a heads up that this is coming. So if we were to do that, it's not something that I would put at the top of the list to be done based on that alone. If you're renting our fields, you're renting them the way we have them laid out right now. If you need something different, it should be a conversation with us, not a surprise, read it in the ledger, that you've just jumped leagues that now resulted in a field change. Can we pause for 1 second? Jay, can you unmute, do you have a question, is it a public comment or is it a question on this topic?
It's a comment on the topic.
Okay, let me get through this and then I'll circle back around to you and let you make your comment.
Okay.
Thank you. I think the new lights at Wallace are a great idea. I'm wondering though if we can use the Green Communities
I was thinking the
Grant?
same thing.
on that one. Beaver Deceiver, we've talked about it before. I don't remember enough about it to remember how much it cost. And landscaping at Veterans, I think it definitely needs to get done, but I don't think it's gonna come anywhere near a $20,000 threshold. Does anybody else have any thoughts?
I'd say your sentiments, I wonder, like, the town, like, so as far as the town beach fencing, can that be, could we combine that with town beach, and then, like, the unused side, and make it one project? And have it just be a town beach upgrade? And that would be one thing, so that we do meet that threshold, because I think there is a need to do something with that far side. You know, to make it just usable space, whether it's for, you know, birthday parties or, you know, our activities and things of that sort. I don't think it's wide enough for, like, I don't think there's enough width for official cornhole kind of deal, but beach games over there, or what, you know, things like that that could be utilized. It's definitely an underutilized space that we have, so I think that's an important one. But I'm wondering if we can just rope fence repairs in at the same time. If there's some fence repair that needs to be done on that side as well, perhaps. I think there's a lot of vine maybe in some of that fencing and so forth, so some of that, maybe we can rope that all together. Fitzjoe for sure, and I like the additional fencing there to prevent some of the, if we can keep that field safe. We already had issues with people driving through, you know, fields or snowmobiles. We're gonna invest the money to resurface that. We wanna preserve that as long as possible. So I would definitely, you know, look at that fencing piece there as well to keep that locked, so that we're not having, you know, traffic going through there that's gonna disrupt what's resurfaced. I assume we'd have to work with conservation on
I
that?
have no idea. I'm sort of
Would be
leaving
the
that to
question I guess
Chris.
I'd have in that regard would be, I think we'd probably have to work with conservation there. I'd like to just keep Northfield on our capital list in some capacity. I don't know what capacity that is, but I don't want to lose sight of that project.
Even if it's just so that every year
It's there.
it
It's
gets
there.
mentioned
I
again.
think people
It's-
forget about that project and that it
It
exists.
doesn't hurt.
I think it's sorely needed in this town. And yeah, I know we have some bigger issues that, you know, as a whole, the town needs to sort through in terms of where we're spending our money and what things are gonna cost, but I think if there's an opportunity there if there's something we can do to understand what something like that would cost, you know, I think I'd like to see that on our list. I just don't wanna see later that.
So are you looking for us to ask for funds to do the survey and like a schematic?
Something potentially, I thought at one point it was surveyed. I thought it was
Don't
surveyed
remember off the top of my head.
in order for us to take
Follow back.
ownership. I thought it was surveyed maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, just, you know, in some capacity, trying to figure out
What's feasible?
what's feasible there, and do we have an idea what something like that's gonna cost? I think there's I think there's trying to think of the word, I think there's support in the town for there to be open space fields. There are, like presently for Lunenburg youth soccer, there are 5 or 6 grade 3-4 soccer teams this fall. There's the same for 5-6. It falls off at 7-8, but there's a significant, I don't think they've ever seen the number of fields. They have 3 3-4 girls soccer teams,
Nice.
grade 3-4 soccer teams this fall. So I think there's a lot of kids involved. I know there's a lot of kids that play lacrosse in the spring. There's a lot of kids that play field hockey, you know, and that's all space that, we don't have space to do all that. kind of stuff. And we would if something like Northfield existed. So I think there's an opportunity there to capitalize when the numbers are good for things to maybe try and do something that way. And again, if it's a project that can be done a lot shorter than some other projects, maybe it's something worth talking about. So that would be my priority. And I would agree with your sentiment on the baseball side. I don't know what is involved. I'd like to understand that if someone wants to come and tell us what's involved.
Yeah.
I'd like to understand that a little bit, like how far off are we? Are we talking about,
For the
You know,
power field.
yeah, for Powell Field, are we talking about trimming some grass and laying some more gravel down? I mean, I don't know what's involved with something like that and how significant of a difference is that? And like, what's the difference there between there and McNally Field and like, is McNally serviceable for what they need? And,
Right.
I would also agree that that probably should have been presented to us prior to them making an agreement to move forward with a different league.
It sounds like they're able to make it work, like it's not like they have to change it. It's not like it has to be changed immediately for them to continue to play. It's just, it is outside
That's
the,
not ideal.
right, so,
Yeah.
but they're certainly making it work. Yeah, the heads up would have been nice to sort of, but I can ask them to come and tell us what's needed, tell us what,
yeah, I'd like to understand.
yeah.
Certainly want them to be able to play, and I don't like if it's an issue of we can't play,
Right, but if they are playing, but like you said, how much, is it a big
right,
expense
What's the
and a big
undertaking?
project, or is it that they need to bump out a little bit and
right.
something
They'll be
that can
trimming
be
some, yeah,
done, right,
They're
like,
taking some sod out and
right.
expanding things or adding sod or whatever.
Anita, do you have anything?
I'm just thinking that I would place the regrade and surface Fitzgerald and the fencing as first priority.
Fencing of the town beach or the fencing of
No, at the
Marshall?
regrade and resurface Fitzgerald with
Okay,
adding
okay.
fencing to prevent snowmobiles. I would put that as first priority. I would look at the combining town beach on the unused side and the fence repairs, see if it would meet the threshold. If it does, then I would think that would be a second priority. The new lights at Wallace, I think we need to just double check with the Green Communities Committee to make sure that that is something that's eligible to work with them. I know last year they were looking for us to try to provide potential
I feel like
projects for their
Dave's
funds.
always looking
Mhm.
And I think that'd be perfect to work with them on something like that. The others I don't have strong feelings about. I think we need to get more information though about the beaver deceiver to really understand. I mean, I see them out there all the time pulling the grading. So I don't know if that's because what is there isn't working and the beaver deceiver would make it easier to maintain. I don't know.
Put a different grate in there this year to get a different
Different angled one.
shape to it or.
Yeah.
Okay, so is everybody, actually, Jay, do you want to unmute and make your comment before we just?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us who you are and where you live.
My name is JC. I live over on 3 Rogers Way in Lunenburg, and I'm on the baseball board.
Okay,
So I wanted to make my comment about, I agree about the Fitzgerald. My son plays Little League, and we played on that field all this season, and the field is, like you said, has a lot of potholes, and also the field gets flooded really badly, to the point we can't even use it sometimes, and we have to ask other towns to use their field. So I did just want to make my comment about that. So yeah, thank you.
awesome, thank you. All right, so it sounds like Fitzgerald would come out at the top 4 on the list, followed by the town beach. Leave Northfield on the list. It's not going to get funded next year, even if we wanted it to. And ask Chris to get us some more information on the beaver deceiver and connect with baseball to get more information on that, on their field needs in terms of size.
Mhm.
All right, so if I could get a motion to request that Chris Ruth move forward with the Fitzgerald project for the capital plan, as well as looking into seeing if we can combine the left side of the town beach with the fencing as our second.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, whatever you said. So moved.
And that's
We all said so moved, I guess. Yeah.
and that's leaving Northfield on the list as well. So
Adding Northfield back to
adding back to the list. I don't think it's ever been taken off the list on the capital planning side. I think my husband said it's still
Oh, okay.
floating there. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Can I grab my papers back?
Yes.
Just because that's what I was taking minutes on. Yep. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Marshall Park project. I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay, so this morning, literally this morning, I was getting ready for this meeting and I was looking at the spreadsheet that was provided by town accountant. And on there is a $30,000 entry saying that we've spent zero of it, so there's $30,000 remaining, which was included in the 97,000-ish that we thought we had left. That 30,000 does not belong there. That 30,000 is for Marshall and Whalen Park weed treatments. So it needs to be pulled out. When we pull that out, it brings us down to 67,000 and some change. So originally I was hoping to come before you guys tonight with some, to be saying to you guys, we got something from RDLA saying, here's what we can do to amend their contract, which is still ongoing. Their contract doesn't expire until December of '26. And then Skanska, they actually expired in June of '25, so we don't have an active contract with them. So I was hoping to sort of have an idea of how we were gonna move forward with those two contracts, but now that this $30,000 has come up, I did talk to Chris Ruth this morning, and he's like, I don't know how we'd ever grab that. I mean, we both looked at it multiple times over the last couple of months, so I don't know how it just slipped by, I guess. And so I do have an email out to town manager, and I've CC'd Chris Ruth on it to try to figure out, to confirm that $30,000 is actually not something that should have been on there, to see what their recommendations are, and to see about the possibility, the time-sensitive one is the ARPA funds, which are just over $13,000. And it was mentioned to me in the past few days that they are granting some extensions on those. Whether or not we would qualify for an extension to be able to spend that money past the December whatever date, I don't know. So I did ask on that. So I don't really have much of an update on that. I'm gonna wait for town manager to get back to me on that. We did have this whole conversation with Adam Costa last week, and we looked at the contracts of, Skanska's being expired, RDLA's not being expired, what we needed to do. But this 30,000 we would be almost $30,000 short if we had approved the Skanska and the RDLA contracts based on the numbers they gave us. So.
Can we get a revised estimate from Skanska and RDLA in terms of what could they do for 67,000?
We could, yes, we certainly could. I did get back to Ray today and just said, hold tight. We have a budget issue that I just figured out, and so I, obviously wasn't going to get that done in the few hours that I had.
Right.
But I certainly can. And the other question that's come up, and I'm not 100% clear on the answer. I thought I knew the answer, but then I'm now wondering if I just didn't understand it correctly when we met with town council last week, and that was, where we're not building right now, do we need to have an OPM on board? Because if we didn't have to renew or redo Skanska's contract, but it has something to do with the vertical buildings, and it went back and forth between town manager and Adam Costa for a bit, and I think I just lost track of where they were going, because then Chris Ruth made a comment to me this morning that he didn't think we did need one. And I'm like, that wasn't my takeaway from last week, so I've asked for clarification on that
Good.
again.
Because the way I always understood it is you do, even if it's just still in design phase, doesn't mean you need to be in construction. The OPM had to be on board before the designer was
That's-
hired.
That's what my takeaway basically was as well.
Right.
And Scanscope seems to be willing to work with us on a much lower level to, but again, they were using the numbers that we had given them of that
Yeah.
97,000, and now I'm sitting here going, this money's not supposed to be here. And I also want to, I want to connect with the town accountant to just verify too, that, maybe that was put in there by mistake and something else was omitted, but I can't come up with what would have been omitted by mistake. Like, looking at the list, that's the only one that I'm like, that shouldn't be here. Nothing's jumping into my mind of like, that should.
Do you still have that original spreadsheet that I gave you from the last time that Izzy and I reviewed the numbers? I'll look and see if I can find it. I don't remember the 30,000 being in there at that, but.
Yeah, this was dated 6/17, the one that I had asked him for an updated
Okay.
list, and it was definitely clear as day right there.
Okay. I'll look and see if I can find that prior
Okay.
version.
Okay. All right, so that's all that I have on
Do
that.
we need to be spending that 30? What happens at 30 if we don't spend?
So it will just sit there until, so they're working on the weed situation. I don't know if you, last month, I think it was, Chris Ruth, myself, and the company that would be doing the work went in front of conservation to present a project for removing the weeds down at Whalum. It's not that it hit a roadblock, but it also needs to go in front of Leominster because the lake as a whole has to be addressed. And then there's something to do with the state. So we've started the process, so that money will most likely be going to that, so we don't have to worry about
So it's
spending
not, that's in
that. And if it didn't,
Oh,
no, it says Whalum and
it
Marshall.
says Wayland.
And if we didn't use it anyway, those are those warrant articles that they'll like suddenly come up and say like, we need to transfer, $2.57 from this capital, fiscal plan of 2017 into, so those are those little ones if we don't.
Just to make sure it's not something that we're
No, we don't need to do anything.
use it or lose it kind of.
Okay.
We're sitting on 30 now.
I wonder if anybody in the town has an opinion on that.
Weeds. I missed that part of the weed.
Joe's got the camera looking right at me. I'm trying to give you a nice face comment. As I'm throwing darts at you. And the plan for it actually if you go back to the Conservation Committee meeting from August, it's a very well laid out plan. And it would start with pulling and vacuuming is how I would call it, before they necessarily have to jump into chemicals, but they were asking for permission for those so they didn't have to go back in front of them.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it was a good plan, and it would be, when you look at an overhead of Whalum, of the beach area, there's a lot of weeds. It's just, they just multiply.
It makes sense though that it has to go in front of Leominster too,
It's such a tiny piece of Leominster, it's
Yeah.
such a tiny piece, but yeah, the state actually owns that lake. So it's not just the town of Lunenburg, it's not just Leominster, it's the state, so. Many pieces. All right, the next one is master plan. Did everybody get that master plan document in their email from the master plan steering
I
committee?
think so, she.
I think so.
I don't recall it.
Okay, so what they've done is, as a reminder, we do not have a seat on that commission because they just couldn't get themselves organized. And it became a time suck of my time at that time, because I was on the committee, and meetings were being canceled and all this other stuff. So I said, let us know when you get yourselves back together. Well, by the time they got themselves back together, the planning board had actually removed various groups from there to try to bring their numbers down, and we were one of them. So we do not hold a seat on this. So I did have a conversation with Kim Duffy, who's the current chair, because a lot of this wasn't making sense. So I'm gonna try, let me I'm gonna bring up to you guys what they have listed as Parks Commission being on as the relevant committee. And I'm gonna save time and not do the rest of them because they don't apply to us. So the first one, their goal, support a range of housing options for all ages and income levels. The recommendation that has Parks as a relevant committee, encourage new housing developments that broaden the available residential options, including apartments, townhouses, single-family, multifamily, and are planned appropriately to preserve open space, public trail access, and wildlife connectivity. I have no idea how we would fit into that. None. It says, is this controlled by your board's bylaws or policies? To me, the answer was no.
No.
So I did just check off no on that and moved on. The next one was, there were a lot of them that, like things that didn't fall to us were like, adopt a bylaw to steer development away from open farmland, establish an indoor farmers market, so farmers can sell their products year-round. None of that stuff listed parks, nor did I read anything in there that I thought should be parks. Then we have the goal, build upon efforts to improve natural open spaces and recreational opportunities. We had a bunch in here. First one, develop mountain bike trail network, Parks Commission. Open space, conservation, and town manager. Is it in our bylaws and policies? I said no. I don't really have anything else to add in there. Could we build one? Sure. The only spot would probably be Northfield, but we don't have a large inventory of land like the Conservation Commission. The next one was develop a dog park. Parks Commission, open space, town manager. It's all the answers to are these in our bylaws policies are no, because we don't have any bylaws policies that cover any of this. But I did make a note in there that a dog park is currently in the design work for the Marshall Park project should the voters support it. Assess and provide parking and improve pedestrian access to Town Beach. Parks Commission, they list Park and Recreation Department, the ADA Committee, and Town Manager. It's not in our policies. I did say that it's, oh good, I thought I cut that section off. Let's see. Under the section, the provide any additional feedback, I have something along the lines of parking at the town beach is roadside and is not controlled by the Parks Commission. We would work with the town to determine if there's anything that can be done to improve parking there. And it was the same gist when it came to sidewalks in that area. We don't have any land to put them on, but we could certainly work with other groups to establish a better parking situation. But we don't own the land, so that was that one. Provide public access to Lake Shirley. They have Park Commission, Parks and Rec Department. I said no, and under the note, I said Park Commission does not own any property on Lake Shirley. Town-owned property on Lake Shirley is under the care and control of the Select Board. So there's nothing, unless somebody hands us over property, we've been down this road with open space. I did recommend that they add, instead of Parks Commission and Parks and Rec, they add Select Board and open space to that
That's
list.
a good idea.
A couple more. Cut off by the holes that I have in my paper, but it says something about connecting Lunenburg to neighborhoods. It has listed Parks Commission and open space. Let's connect other towns to Lunenburg. And of course, we have no policy on it. I said Park Commission does not own any land that abuts other towns. If a network was being created, the Park Commission would work with them if our property was deemed a cut through, if there was appropriate action. I suggested that conservation be added there since they're the ones that own the bulk of the land that I think does abut other towns. The next one was create a trail to connect conservation areas. I don't know if we have any land that abuts any conservation areas to create land to.
No.
Northfield Park's the only
We
one.
initially had a
that's
trail
across the
network
street.
set up, but it wasn't going to connect anything, but we had a trail network in
In
our
the
plan
Marshall
for.
Park. I think I mentioned that in here. Develop a walking trail network. In the Marshall Park project plan, there is an opportunity for walking trails, both hard surface within the park as well as the opportunity to put nature trails around Marshall Park should the voters decide. I'm hoping they pick up what I'm putting down when I say if the voters decide, because we've been in front, and they want all this stuff's coming through on the list of this is their wants. Well, we presented their wants at the last town meeting and didn't get support, so. Ensure maintenance of existing parks and playgrounds. I did say that we had, it does fall under us in terms of policy, like we could make a policy around it. I just said day-to-day maintenance falls to the facilities director and not directly with the Parks Commission. We are working on a list of improvements that need to be done for the capital plan. Does anybody have anything to add to that section?
Makes sense.
Improve parking and access to all trails in town. They've got us listed again.
We don't have
Park
any.
Commission has no trails in town.
Yeah, no trail. But we're trying to add
We're
parking.
trying to, yeah.
We're trying to have parking and trails to Marshall Park.
Do my part.
Yeah.
So when you're done here, I will update on my open space,
Okay,
if
perfect.
that's appropriate.
Assessed and develop town green between TC Pasio's Adult Activity Center for outdoor community space. We're on that list. I
We
just
are on that list?
Yeah, this is not property that comes under the Parks Commission. Again,
Oh, it's kind of cut off.
I understand that they want to get other groups involved, but I am hesitant to overstep into property that we don't have care and control of for a land that will never come under us, because the select board's not going to want to give up that piece of property there. They're going to want to maintain care and control because it's in the center of town.
Could we add a comment, though, that, because we did have the, different events on that land that, Angela coordinated with the,
LBA.
yeah, and so maybe we could say we, continue to look for opportunities to coordinate with, other entities to have regular public events on the property as determined appropriate.
Meaningful public events. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, good. I
Chris,
like
you're
that.
picking up those words really well.
Meaningful public events,
Meaningful public.
that's good.
The next one was assess or develop an outdoor work space greater than 50 acres for large community events from town-owned land. I said Northfield Park is a substantial piece of undeveloped property that comes under the care and control of Park Commission that would be suitable. I mean, I don't think we need much elaboration there. It can be turned into anything the voters want it to be turned into. That was that. That might be, one other one. Seek grant opportunities.
Develop a community
Develop a
garden.
universally accessible playground for all ages. I must have missed that one.
It is on
Also-
Oh,
develop-
yep, I missed that one. Let me go back one. Develop a community garden, it's listed Parks, AgCom, Commission of Trust Fund. I put that it's not in our policies. If the piece of property, a piece of parcel of land could be identified, we could certainly do one. There's no reason why we couldn't, we've talked about it in the past.
They have us on a green space next to the library.
Yep, I got that one.
Gatherings.
And I think the last one, Chris, was seek grant opportunities, develop a universally accessible playground for all ages.
Also in Marshall Park.
Yep. I said we would like to see universal playgrounds, and one is in the plans for Marshall Park if voters choose to support it, grants have been secured. Unless I missed anything, Chris, I think those were all.
They have us on bicycle infrastructure from high-density housing areas to the town center and vice versa.
It has nothing to do with us.
We don't have any,
Oh.
it's roads.
I might have-
There's no trail.
I did
no
see
bike
that
path,
one,
there's
and
no-
I thought it fell under the safe.
It's foster safe and resilient town, it falls under the foster safe and resilient town infrastructure. It says add bicycle infrastructure from high-density housing areas to the town center and vice versa, planning board and parks commission. The parks commission wouldn't have any bearing. on it.
DPW.
Right.
Yeah, it's got no bearing on parks.
Which I will make a side note to the planning board that all of these topics would never have made it out here if there had been somebody from the Parks Commission sitting in on those meetings. It wouldn't, some of this stuff would have, if other groups had had liaisons or voting members, whatever they're considered, I think this would have looked very different.
The open space committee, whatever they, this, had the same thought, that there were a lot of
Do you wanna-
pieces that.
Want to jump into your update?
Yeah,
Okay. Does anybody else have anything on this? Okay.
so we
Sure.
went through it for the open space, and that was the same determination, was that a lot of those things that they said were open space has many policies, and it's like an adjacent committee to the planning, there's no, so it didn't, they don't have jurisdiction or anything to do that, but it was more just making comments, like what you did, but the big comment that came up was how many of those items were actually on the Marshall Park plan, and there was some, the feeling, especially from the chair, was that, Marshall Park should not be forgotten and should come back before the voters, and I wasn't at the July meeting of this, so I didn't know where we were at on it, but, the feeling was not to let it go,
Who's the
because,
chair of open space now?
Michael Toomey.
Okay, yeah.
That was just the discussion, was
Yeah.
that, several of those items that actually were relevant to parks were addressed
Right.
in the
We've been
plan,
trying.
and so it, should not be,
Not elected.
that was the sentiment, was that it was, even though it wasn't supported, that it should not be left behind. So I thought that was,
Yeah.
good to know that
And
the
is the
members of
master-
that group.
I like that feedback.
Do master plans in general, I understand the need for them, I understand why we do them. And, I was part of the open space plan that we just passed, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. So I get the need for them, but does it end up being one of those things that everybody goes through the motions and then it doesn't get looked at again, then 10
For a
years
lot of
from now?
communities, yes, but there's some communities that, and I can, Town of Lincoln is one, that it's used regularly, referred to regularly.
Okay, I feel like I look at all this stuff and we go through all the motions and it's like, you guys, you get this list of, and feedback from the community members, of this is what we would like to see, and then you present that to them and it doesn't happen, it's like, you just spend all your time putting this forward to the master planning committee and we bring it to you and it's no, it's like,
Well, and I feel like it was in the presentation about
It was,
Marshall Park, like clearly,
we said that
that the
several times.
community had,
Yes,
these were
Suspending
fulfilling.
the master plan,
Yeah.
sort of.
yes.
so in July, we had decided not to.
Yeah, I read the minutes.
Okay, so not to bring it forward to fall town meeting, but left it open for
Yeah,
the spring town meeting.
which I think makes perfect sense, but I was just, it was pleasant to hear that, people were recognizing
Yes.
what it was addressing and that, it should stick around, that,
Mhm.
Okay.
Good.
I just want to get a document. I do not think we need to vote on that. I think it's just good to submit just the way we have it. And I know that Jared Bowser who's actually on, if anybody has any questions for him, he filled it out on behalf of the town beach side of things.
Thanks, Chair.
Those sections, and I don't know if Angela provided anything before she left, but I know that she had received it, so. I'm going to pull this up so I can share it. All right, so that topic is done. Now we're on to the next one. So, Mr. Gilman, I don't know if you heard the start of this, and I apologize if you were in the waiting room for too long. I didn't notice right away, I don't think that you were there. And the same thing with you, Jay. If either of you, as we move into this topic, have questions or comments, put your hands up and I will have you address those during this discussion. I just want to get this SharePoint up. This does affect the baseball program because they are the ones that are the primary users of the McDonald Field. Something went wrong, it's telling me. What could have gone wrong? Let's try again, SharePoint. Okay. So, this topic, and I'm going to read it word for word at this point. Discussion and vote on non-criminal disposition for violation of dog regulations by by Lynn Palazzi and Sherry Letarte of 280 Whalen Road, Lunenburg at McNally Park. In the uploaded pictures or files that I gave you on this topic were some pictures, and I will pull them up.
Any feedback?
See if I can share screen.
We'll plug it in after.
Do you remember?
Can somebody remember how to share screen here?
It'll be at the top, you need the top menu, right?
Oh, not getting, I'm on my laptop, so I'm trying to post is disabled.
Oh, there
Company,
you
all participants. Try sharing again. This could be a disaster, so let's see what comes up. That's not what I want. Yeah, this isn't happening. Gives me like a, universal access authorization warning in Safari unknown. All right, well, I was going to, share, but I can't share. So what we have, if somebody needs to look at my laptop if they don't remember from, the files, is, the initial complaint came in to me from a resident in early June. And at that time, the pictures that were provided clearly show the two residents of 280 Whalum on the park's property with both of their dogs. They appear to be unleashed, and it doesn't appear like there was any events going on in the field at that time. So that was dated 5/29/25. Then we have two more pictures, one of them dated 8/12/25 and one dated 9/16/25 that appear to be Miss Letarte. One of them has two dogs out there, one of them has one. Again, neither of those pictures are of a leashed dog at that point. We've also had a number of just complaints that didn't come in with any pictures. Of the same people, same thing going on. So what happened was the complaint originally came into Angela Clement. Angela forwarded it to myself or maybe the whole Parks Commission. It then went to town manager, and it was decided that we would post signage, which I did do middle to end of August. I have the date somewhere. And it was basically a printout of our policies for our dog policies that had been reviewed by our town council, so we know that they're good working policies. So I printed those, laminated them, put a QR code on there so people could scan it, and I posted it in 5 different locations, all at McNally Field. And we also had a letter that was sent directly to the residents, letting them know of this policy, just in case they were possibly unaware. We received in return an email that's also in the correspondence folder back from the residents, citing that these dogs were registered service dogs and cited they were covered under the ADA. Town manager, as our ADA coordinator, then stepped in, replied back, said, if you're requesting reasonable accommodations, please set up a meeting with me. Here's a copy of the park's policy, their bylaws on dogs. And then the interaction went on, and it was, yep, we read it, we think we're covered by this, and we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. And they kept doing what they're doing, but they never set up anything with town manager to get any reasonable accommodations. From what my understanding is right now, after talking with town manager and talking with our legal counsel, is that exercising your dogs on the field is not an ADA covered activity. If they were playing softball, baseball, or doing something themselves on the field that required the support of a ADA, not registered, but an ADA approved animal, that would be one thing, but that's not what's going on
Because they
here.
would be in a service capacity.
Correct,
At that
correct.
point, when they're out exercising
Yep.
the dog,
And
that's
let me-
not in a service capacity.
Correct.
Which is the policy.
Correct, and I'm gonna read that
Clearly
policy
states.
right now. So, yes, that's exactly what it says, Michael, and I thought I had the whole thing printed out. And I don't, and why would my computer work right now?
But it's specific, there's specific language there that, you know, in accordance with their, you know, when they're acting in capacity
You're
as a
looking for the
service
parts,
dog.
you're looking for.
I got it right here. So our policy says, specific on, no dogs on athletic fields. So the list of properties, Fitzgerald, Marshall, McNally, Northfield Park, which has a disclaimer, see off-leash requirements below, Veterans Park, Wallace, and Whalum Lake Beach. Dogs are not allowed on any of those. Service animals, service and medical support animals, when acting within their service capacity, are welcome at parks property, even those where pets are otherwise prohibited. It goes on, you know, to talk about the off-leash areas, making sure to clean up after your pet if you bring them into any of the parks on a leash, you know, just not the playing field areas. There's that whole section, and then it says, visitors who do not abide by these rules may be subject to eviction from the park and/or may receive a fine in accordance with General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D, which lists the first offense as $50, second offense is $75, third offense and subsequent offenses of $100. The commission may also issue a no trespass order in accordance with General Law, Chapter 266, Section 120, and may seek enforcement of such orders as may be appropriate. These regulations are in addition to and do not supersede or replace the requirements of any otherwise applicable local bylaw or regulation, including Section 110 to 111 of the general bylaws entitled Dog Control. So, in front of us, we need to, I believe, based on the number of complaints we've gotten, the folks that I've talked to, especially from the baseball program, we're at a point now where we need to take action to stop this behavior from continuing. If they want to continue to press the ADA, they can make an appointment to sit down with town manager to discuss what those reasonable accommodations were.
So they did not, because it was in the correspondence that there was
Request for.
a request from you, or
It
from
did, so-
our end, to have a meeting with,
Yes.
and that never.
That never happened, so the initial correspondence that came in was from Ms. Palazzi, and it says, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing on behalf of myself and Sherry Letarte in response to the letter we received regarding our dogs running on McNally Field. First, I want to express our appreciation for your commitment to maintaining the field and creating a welcoming space for everyone. I would like to clarify our situation. Our dogs are registered service animals, and we believe we are following the guidelines in place. Specifically, if we feel we are being denied access, we have the option to file a complaint under the ADA. We understand the importance of keeping the area enjoyable for the entire community and take our responsibility as pet owners very seriously. We exercise our dogs for about 20 minutes each morning, ensuring we keep a close eye on them and always cleaning up after them. I truly hope we can reach a mutual understanding on this matter, as it's important for us to enjoy our time in the field without feeling targeted. She then sent another one and said, I noticed that at Marshall Park there are no significant signs regarding the fines related to our current discussion. I understand that years ago Marshall Park was closed because people were not picking up after their dogs, which created a mess, according to Jack. Given this history, I'm sure you can understand why we feel a bit targeted in this situation. So town manager then responded to this, and I want to make a side note here. The McNally Park has we have two gates that close, and then one of those gates has a wider opening that any dog could slide through. We also have two openings that have no gates over by the dugout area, and we found last year, and this was Lakeview, who does the maintenance, or the landscaping over there, had called to let Chris Ruth know about this last year. Things were attached to the fencing to barricade that, so no dog could go in and out. Lakeview had to actually cut those off in order to do their landscaping. And it didn't just happen once, it happened multiple times. When I went over there to put the signage up on the entrances, the 5 signage that I put up, there was some portable units that had been dragged over to cover those openings, so that if somebody was over there letting their dogs out, the dogs couldn't slip out. So they're moving things around on that field and installing things, for lack of a better word, in order to, so that their dogs
So it's fully
aren't getting out,
enclosed.
so it's fully enclosed.
We know
So-
that they're installing that, I mean, I don't wanna make that assumption that they're installing.
So I know
Somebody
somebody is installing.
Somebody's
I-
installing.
Somebody
I
that
just
is
wanna
not
clarify, yeah, I wanna
in
make sure
official
we're-
capacity for the
Correct.
park.
Yeah, I wanna
So-
make sure we're clear that
Yep,
it's-
yep.
somebody is
No idea,
installing.
no
Somebody's
idea,
doing
somebody.
Somebody's installing something that's not.
So
part of
what I ended up
the-
doing was taking the 2 backstops, for lack of a better word, they're like these portable things. We actually put them together in the, behind home plate, and they're actually now chained and locked up, so that they can't easily be moved. Just because that's not what their purpose is. And to block somebody's exit, no matter who's doing it, is not an appropriate thing to do anyway. So I just, side note there on that piece of it before I forgot. And then the town manager had responded and had said, she was forwarded the email correspondence last week between you and Angela Clement. As I understand it, you sent the August 26th email in response to a letter sent by Ms. Clement regarding the use of McNally Field. As town manager, I also serve as ADA coordinator for the town. From your email, I see that your dogs are registered service animals. I also see that you believe you are following the guidelines in place. I have attached a copy of the regulations to this email. It is not clear to me whether you are requesting a reasonable accommodation or a modification of the park property's dog regulations under the ADA. If you are requesting a reasonable accommodation modification, I would invite you to discuss your request with myself and the chair of the Parks Commission. Please let me know if you would like time to discuss this matter further. She got right back to town manager and said, thank you for your email. I have reviewed the guidelines and I can confirm that we are within our rights to have our service dogs in the mentioned park. No additional accommodations are needed. We simply ask that the Little League executives refrain from harassing us regarding this matter. I believe we are all on the same page now, and I trust that this issue will not occur. Fast forward, and she clarified that we have not and will not be at the ball field with our dogs during Little League events. We respect the community in the Little League. Thank you. Then a day went by, and I believe that's when the next complaint came in, and I immediately responded to her, and I said, please set up a meeting with town manager. It actually does not sound like we are on the same page, and I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss the reasonable ADA accommodation you are seeking. Town manager also followed up regarding the email from last night, as well as Ms. Menard's response this morning. It does appear that a meeting is warranted. Per the regulations, dogs are restricted from all sections of parks, fenced or not, maintained for athletic use, to include all ball fields and courts. The regulations also state service and medical support animals, and this is in bold, when acting within their official service capacity, are welcome at the park properties, even those where pets are otherwise prohibited. Emphasis added. It sounds as though you are requesting that your dogs be allowed on the ball field when the Little League is not using this field. If that is the case, then we should indeed set up a time to discuss the accommodation modification request. Would a time next Tuesday or Thursday accommodate your schedule? We heard nothing back after that. Instead, that was 9/3. We've had multiple complaints since then.
And no response back.
No response back from them.
So tonight, we're looking to determine whether we want to put forward with issuing a fine for their non-compliance.
We can do whatever you want. We can do a fine. We could take no action. We can do a fine. We've already given them written notice, which we didn't have to do, but we did. And we can go as far as, if somebody feels so strongly, issuing a no trespass order for that field.
What if we sent another letter that, says that, refers to this communication that took place and says that, we feel that a violation is still occurring and town manager concurs, and we urge you to set up a meeting with the town manager and chair of the Parks Commission at your earliest convenience. Absent that taking place, and put like a deadline, we will be issuing fines for future occurrences.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I think that's the right way to go. I think just a timeline on it, like, beyond your earliest convenience, it's like,
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily
Prior
say
to-
your earliest convenience, I would
prior
put,
to October, or
I
whatever.
mean, I would put a date simply because the request, it was already stated that they're really seeking an accommodation. And they need to have a meeting to determine whether that is appropriate or not. And they just went silent. You know, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And so at this point, like, I agree, I mean, I think we would be well within our rights to just issue
I
fines.
would, yeah,
But-
I think we're in our rights to do that.
You know, but I don't think that's the way we should go.
No.
But I do think there needs to be a meeting. And, I mean, I don't really understand.
It's a slippery slope of,
Yeah,
like, we don't address it, then we're,
Right.
you know,
And we're getting
we're leaving it open to
repeat
others.
complaints.
I drive by Marshall and I look, like, when there's dogs walking around the track, they're on leash, those dogs are on leash. Like, I have not driven by Marshall and seen dogs running loose, getting exercise.
Yep.
At Marshall. I see dogs on leash, walking around the,
And they can be off leash in the T-ball field area at Marshall. They do not have to be on leash. That's one of those areas that we had, like,
We
we
sort of-
didn't
oh, we
update
made
the
that a
policy.
dog, we made
Yeah,
that a
and I actually,
dog
as
issue.
I say that,
Dog.
I didn't update the policy and I need to. I have slightly different opinions than all of you folks, which shouldn't surprise you, but I would like to,
Well, you're also getting,
not just that,
receiving the complaint.
Right.
it's not
yeah.
just the receiving of the complaints, it's, and I'm gonna have Mr. Gilman and Jay make some comments because I think they're gonna add some stuff to it. This isn't a new occurrence, so. All right, which one of you guys wanna go first? Whoever can unmute and just introduce yourself and name and address.
I mean, I can go first, Matt, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, you already know who I am, JC. So I actually live right next to McNally. And I work from home, so when I go out on my lunch break, I walk around, to exercise. They are out there, and they release their dogs. I've watched them release their dogs. They do put blockage. I've actually seen them put blockage, in front so their dogs do not run out. They let them run around and do whatever they want. I've seen the dogs actually poop, and they don't clean it up. Once they're done, they just put the lead, they call them, and they bring them to their house. But it's multiple times they have done this. I've seen them do it right before the game. I've seen it do it, when there aren't any games. My other issue is, I know it was mentioned about, like, in there, like you were reading their email, about it should, it's not a big deal, if the league is not using the field, but, people like me live right there who, my son wants to practice. I have neighbors that have kids. I have other people that bring their kids that want to practice in the off season. Just like me, I was hosting a kickball game this past Sunday. I was using the field. I had a bunch of people come, family and friends. I don't think it's fair that I have to check around the field to see if they cleaned up the dog poop. So I feel like it has been going on for a while. It's a constant topic that I bring up at our board meetings. I honestly think that, you guys should just go the disciplinary way because it's already been mentioned multiple times.
Great, thank you. Mr. Gilman?
Thank you. Matt Gilman, 186 Reservoir Road. I am here both as a board member of the Lunenburg baseball and softball, but also as a coach that coached at McNally for now the past 3 years. Not only do we have kids that are now getting dog poop stuck on their cleats, it is interfering with the equipment as the equipment is dragging through what is being left there. But more importantly, and I think why I'm actually here is, it's not just that the dogs are there. These two individuals have become actually very hostile, threatening to kids They have called parents who are bringing this up to them while they're there. They're calling their parents losers to these little kids that are at the ages of 10 and younger. They know what they're doing. I can say I've talked to Officer McNamara about it, and the Lunenburg police are aware of what's going on. I myself, as a coach, also hung up, laminated. I took time out of my day to laminate the dog policy and hang it up during the baseball season, beginning in April. So it's not something that's new to them. It is very clear. Excuse me?
Were those taken down?
No, so they were still there when I went to put the new ones up. So, not all of them were still there, but there was definitely one or two that were still there.
Thank you for putting those up, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are clearly they know what they're doing, and they could care less. And it's actually can be frightening how aggressive they are. They will follow people around the field and get right in their face and become very aggressive. We've had situations where one was there and the other has come running out of the house screaming. I asked about, you're here having your dogs run around when their backyard is fenced in, and they say they don't want their dogs running in their backyard. So I think it is past the point of sending a letter. They clearly know, and I understand reasonable accommodations. They're not using these dogs in any capacity that to assist them. They're throwing a ball to the dog, and the dog is chasing it. And I would note these are not small little dogs. These are quite large dogs that jump right up on the
You can see that
fence.
from the pictures.
They're muscular dogs.
Yeah.
And I don't think, the size of the dog I think is irrelevant, but I think it goes to the atmosphere that they're causing. And it is something we've been dealing with now for several years. We've done what we can, and I know that there's another board member or another coach who lives in the complex with JC. He's had interactions with them, and they've called him, like I said, called him a loser right in front of his kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna read that letter in a second, because I'm not sure
And
they had. You guys were CC'd on it, but I'm not sure you remember it. Can I jump in for a second, Matt? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, so the email that came in around the 13th of June first highlighted the fact that there were no dogs allowed, and he was concerned about the two residents bringing their dogs. He then went on to elaborate some more, and this is why my feeling is, I think, slightly different than you guys. He went on to say, I have been feeling helpless about it all season as these individuals continue to use the park for their unleashed dogs. I live at the apartments next door and personally see them out there several times a week. They have a fenced-in backyard right next to the park, and they choose to use our baseball fields as their dog park. Several coaches and others in the area have made comments telling them they are not allowed on the fields, called animal control, and reported them to the police for continual disregard of the rules. Looking at the policy, which has been in place since 2021, I do not understand how they are not subject to disciplinary action, non-excluding being subject to eviction, as the policy states. We are not asking for something inappropriate, but they should be spoken to and reprimanded. I told these individuals that I would be taking the matter up with the town, and they said, go ahead, we will win, this is a public park. Both dogs, who are very large, approached my son, who had to hide behind the gate in fear, as he does not know these dogs. Another policy violation, allowing your dogs to approach others. The dog also grabbed a ball out of the ball bucket that was a wedding gift inscribed to my son for being a ring bearer at a wedding. Upon telling these two that the ball was sentimental, they made fake crying sounds and said, oh, who cares, you want $2 for it? They continued to yell from the gate while I walked my children to the dugout to conduct our baseball practice, telling my 10-year-old that his dad was a loser for standing up for the rules and helping to maintain our park. As a coach for the last 2 years at McNally, I have taken pride in maintaining the field, spending out-of-pocket money to help with upgrades, lining the field for all home games, and picking up trash from patrons. And for the record, I watch many other people walking their dogs around the McNally grounds, causing no issues. These dogs, as the policy states, are in a restricted, prohibited area. All sections of park fenced or not maintained for athletic use, to include all ball fields and courts. So, to be clear on why there was no action taken, and I'm a little disappointed that nobody from either the Animal Control's office or the police department reached out to either facilities, town manager, or us to say they had been receiving complaints. Because I hadn't heard nothing from any of those groups about that until this email came in. So the reason why it didn't happen though, this is a non-criminal disposition situation. And because it's non-criminal, the police don't have involvement in it, which is why the last meeting, I had worked with town manager and it was still a discussion at that point to figure out who could enforce our policy. And she threw some names around. She just hasn't finished completing that circle of who that person could be. So while we have nobody, it falls back to the commission to be the enforcer of this. So in my opinion, the signage went up in August. So they obviously saw it. They received a letter in the mail from Angela because they responded to it. They cited the ADA, so town manager got involved and sent an email back. She responded, and then I sent a response back saying, please set up a meeting, and town manager said, so they've had 3 emails that we know that they've received because they've responded, I can't say for sure because they didn't respond to the last 2, but they've been told 3 times to request a meeting with town manager and myself. They have not done it. They received a letter in the mail, which they acknowledge that they received a letter in the mail with our policy. At this point, in my opinion, they're just blatantly disregarding Parks policy.
Well, and the town manager attached the policy and they
Correct.
referred to the policy saying that they were certain that they weren't violating it. So they clearly are aware
Right.
of the policy and just have a different,
Correct.
perhaps flawed understanding of the
So
policy.
after those, after the letter was sent out, we have received 1 report with pictures, and we have received 1 complaint with no pictures. It has been told to me by numerous people on the town side that if we were to issue a fine for them being out there, we need to make sure that we have evidence that they were out there. The pictures that I have from the latest one that fell after those letters were received are just Miss Letard out there. I do not see Miss Palazzi out there, I just see Miss Letard out there. So it would be my suggestion, at a minimum, to issue a fine to Miss Letard for the date of 9/16/25. I have the time on that as well. That was at 7:31 a.m. To issue the first fine on that. She will then have the choice to be able to, she can request a hearing, and that would just mean that Lucky Me would get to go down to the courthouse and, stand up for parks and our policy and present that information to them if she decides to, fight it that way, or she can do what I would hope would be the right thing, which would be stay off of the parks until she sets up a meeting with town manager to verify whether or not we can offer reasonable accommodations under the ADA for what they're looking for. But I will stand by the fact I do not believe that what they are doing out there is anything that would fall under the ADA because it's not happening while in
It's not a
the
service
service
capacity.
capacity. So again, the letter the original complaint that came in June, it's,
I do remember reading that now that you read it. I didn't.
Yeah,
It didn't,
it's it, yeah.
because I remember reading about the ball. It didn't occur to me when these new ones came out that it was the same.
yeah, it's all the same people.
Please.
It's all the same. It just concerns me where we've now we've put posters or signs up, we've issued a letter, we've had email correspondence, and they continue to do it. And I don't know how short everybody, or how long everybody's memory is, but we've had issues in town with other dogs, both fatal incidents with other dogs in town, as well as other just, over on Hickory Hills area, there was an issue with some dogs over there, and that's just not something that I want to see happen at our parks. I think when you put children out on a field with dogs of any size that they do not know, and they're not leashed, and they're not acting in their service capacity, and the owners don't want to heed notice from the town to set up a meeting, I'm pretty done with it. I'm pretty done.
Well, the fact that they didn't respond to set up a meeting is, pretty disappointing. It also sounds like they're not cleaning up after the dogs. It's not a one-time early in the morning for 20-minute thing. If
It's happening repeatedly.
they're being, photographed at other times and running into practices,
The
and
pictures
the
that I
dogs
have,
being there when kids are there, and
yeah, they're like 7:31 a.m., 7:31 a.m., 7:34 a.m., 4:25 p.m. One with no pictures was another evening one. They came after a practice had just let out over on that field. So they seem to be, in the morning and then in the afternoon. And there could be some mix in the day, I don't know. We've been fortunate that the gentleman who has been reporting most of these has been taking pictures, because without those pictures, it's he said, she said
Right.
conversation.
Right,
This is
right.
actual, this is proof. There's, you're out there exercising your dogs.
Well, it's very disappointing to hear that they're trying to interact so aggressively with people who are just concerned about the safety of the field and the kids and people using it. That, to me, kind of changes the whole atmosphere of it. If we send a letter issuing the first fine for that date and time that you noted, I think that the letter should say that if they disagree with this, they are, they need to set up a meeting with the town administrator and yourself and, go through that request for accommodation under the ADA. What do we do if they do nothing? If they don't contact the town manager, if they don't pay the fine?
Does it become a criminal?
It could become, so
So is there some point though where if it really needs to be enforced, it's not you? Because that doesn't seem
It's you.
appropriate.
Right,
no, exactly. It's not what we signed up for.
Right.
So,
You're out of
Yes.
town.
yes.
Congratulations.
And that is something that we're working on. We're trying to figure out who can be the enforcing officer here. We had thrown it out to, our town manager had thrown it out to Chief Thibodeau to see if our animal control officer could do it. But I think it got just lost in the jumble of he was on vacation when it went out, that sort of email stuff. So yes, that will be figured out. I have been very fortunate that when I was meeting with Adam Costa and Jen Warren last week on a whole bunch of topics,
That's
that
town council, right?
town council and town manager, that Brian Gingras, the building inspector, walked in. This is his field house. Like this is stuff that he understands and he knows how to do. So he's been, like even today I asked town manager, like if the commission for some reason wants to issue a fine for every single one of these events that we have pictures on, can we do 3 sets of fines in one time? And she basically said, go back and ask Brian what he would do in that situation. And Brian got back to me super quickly, gave me guidance, told me how he would go about sending the ticket, for lack of a better word, which he recommends certified mail.
Yeah.
He has a whole process. So, but yes, I would be trying to wash my hands of it faster than you can blink an eye.
Do we have constables
We
assigned?
do have a constable.
I was
They be
wondering if
appropriate?
that would
It's
be.
Michael Ray Jeffries.
Oh, he's our constable?
Yeah.
So, like, we could send a certified letter, but then if it didn't get paid in a certain, whatever, we would put it, I'm sure it would come with a deadline of some sort.
I don't know.
Or something,
To
but
be
at
honest,
some point, if it wasn't followed up on, we would send
so this is
the
how
constable?
this is and I'm hoping that somebody watches this so that they understand that I don't want what I'm about to say to actually happen. But my gut is telling me that if we issue the first offense fine for $50, that they're not going to heed any of these warnings because they think that they are in the right on this. And if they are in the right on it, all they have to do is set up a meeting to have this discussion. So then I feel like we'd be sending out another one with the final straw being we would no trespass them. And then because it's a no trespass, I believe the police at that point would be,
That would get served by somebody
Yeah.
official.
and the police would get involved and they wouldn't be allowed on the property. I'm hoping it doesn't go there.
I hope so too, but I don't think we can go straight to the no trespass process. I
We
think
could,
need
but I
to
don't
make-
want to.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Yes,
yes. So I think we need to go through the,
I do as well. Matt, do you have another comment? He looks so professional in his office.
Oh, please, hardly. You can't see the butter and peanut butter next to me, but anyways. So I agree. The next, I think the way, ultimately, I think they're gonna say, take a $50 fine and say, oh, well. The way it escalates is the no trespass, and then and then police, if they're notified that this continues, they can issue citations, and then it goes into a criminal proceeding, and then the police will represent the town at criminal clerk's hearings, and ultimately it can be resolved there, or it can go beyond that and to the district court. But I don't think sending letters, this has been going on for years, and I think at some point, when it's becoming hostile and they are, speaking to kids and screaming at parents of these kids, and it's not just conversations, it's beyond that, I think just sending a letter isn't going to do anything. But I just wanted to raise my hand with regards to where could it go, and I think the no trespass, and then the Lunenburg police can get involved, and if they know, it's not hard to drive by McNally, you can see it right from the main road, and they can take appropriate action at that point if it's necessary, but hopefully it won't be.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I was gonna say something.
What does town council have to say?
Jen basically said to him, like, what is their next step? And she laid out what she has already done. And his comments were, you've done what you were supposed to do on the ADA side, and they don't want to set up a meeting with you. So now the Parks Commission, and he literally told me exactly what to write on this. So this is his guidance, on this piece of it. And I want to be very clear to anybody that's watching this after the fact. This is not the youth baseball program targeting this residence and their family. This is community members who use this field, whose children use this field, who are now out there in conditions that they should not have to be in. Whether or not your dog has been picked up after, doesn't matter. When you have a dog that uses that field as their bathroom, even if you were to clean up after him, these kids are, sliding in the grass, they're, playing catch, picking up balls. It's one thing for it to be a wild animal, it's something totally different when you are taking a domestic animal and putting it in those fields. So this is not targeting by the baseball program. I actually see it as the contrary. I think that this is how we are supposed to work. As a town, as a Parks Commission who has user groups, who have residents that use our fields, when everybody works together to make sure our fields are safe, that everybody is following the rules, and they're communicating with us, that's how we get things done, because we can't be everywhere. I've driven by those fields so many times at all hours of the day, from first thing in the morning till late in the afternoon, and I have not caught anybody there. It's taken a resident that cared enough to send me the pictures to say, here's the proof that you're looking for, that they were actually here. Without them, again, it becomes a he said, she said situation, and we would have had no proof. We don't have the staff to put them down there. Jay, do you have one more comment before we vote on this and make a decision?
Yes. If you do, because I even have it, like Matt said, it's been going on for a while. I even have pictures of, I took pictures of her in the yard, one of them in the yard with the two dogs. Like I said, I walked by. I even have a picture of where she's closing it off. The gates are closed. So if you have it, this was back in December of last year.
Yeah, send it all our way. Yep, send it all our way. Always, anything, and I'm going to say it to you guys while you're here, because you two don't typically come in front of us very often. any issues with the fields, whether it's dog-related, whether it's safety, field conditions, something got broken, please send it our way. The parks@lunenburgma.gov email address will get everybody. My direct email address is kmenard@lunenburgma.gov. I tend to be super responsive to this stuff because I am fortunate that I'm home during the day and I don't mind doing the legwork to make sure that this stuff gets done. So anything that pops up, let us know. I'd rather you over tell us stuff than not tell us stuff and we find out about it 6 months later.
All right, I will do that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate your documentation, guys, and keep being vigilant and let us know what you see, for sure.
So I'm thinking, do a first offense to just Ms. Letarte, which would be, I think it's covering the best of both worlds. They received the letter, we gave notice, and this is what's happened after that, and, you know, the stuff that before that, not that it's water under the bridge, it still matters that it's out there, and, you know, I want all the documentation, but I think this is a good starting point where it's the most recent event and all of that documentation and the communications that happens. And again, it would just be to Ms. Letarte, because the pictures that I have from 9/16/25 only show her out there with one of their dogs. And the dog is unleashed.
It's a big concern around they're blocking off the entrances
Yeah.
and using it as their,
There's multiple concerning
Yeah.
things, it really
that's
is.
just the more like seeing that kind of deals. Yeah. So, motion to send a fine to Ms. Letarte.
Issue a $50 fine.
Issue a $50 fine to Ms. Letarte,
Using town council language.
yeah, using town council.
I have a form. It's actually has to be done in triplicate. It's a whole
It's a
thing.
thing.
So this would be a fine issued for the 9/16/2025 violation that occurred at 7:31 a.m. Could have to put a time on there as well. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So thank you, gentlemen, for participating in this conversation tonight. Again, send us anything and everything that you feel the Parks Commission needs. We can't run our parks alone. We just don't have, as a small community, we just don't have the staff right now to be able to support that, so.
Yeah, that Karen's right, that goes for anybody at any park, you know, whether it's Veterans Park or Marshall
Right.
Park or wherever it is, if there's an issue you see, you know,
And if you don't get a response from somebody within a couple of days, usually I respond within an hour or two of receiving it. If you don't get a response, and the Parks Commission has been included on that email, please resend it. It's possible something happened and we didn't get it. I do try to respond, even if it's just to say, I need some time to figure it out. You do typically get a response right away.
safety issue, the grass is long, the fence is broken, whatever it is, you know.
Right, we can't address what we
Like,
don't know about.
If you find a 10-foot rattlesnake on the field, please do not reach out to me first.
Birds burn it.
Just burn it. And if it's near my house, just take my house down with it. I want nothing to do with that snake, so.
Thank you, have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's try to do the next real quick. Facilities update, where we didn't have much that needed Chris tonight, and he has had a lot of meetings. Took the night off. He did report that the Wallace Court resurfacing has been completed. It looks
Saw pictures,
awesome.
yeah, they did post pictures
And
online.
they did, and however, you know what's missing from those pictures? The pickleball striping.
As they've mentioned doing
It's
that.
done, it is on
Oh,
there.
it is done now.
So what
Okay.
happened was, they did the basketball court, Chris took the pictures and then said, where's the pickleball courts? So there is pickleball over there, so I will put a side note on there that, you can't get them right now, because they're in the back of my truck, I will return them this week. You can actually rent a pickleball fence at 4 paddles and 6 balls, I think, from the library. It's part of your library card access, it's part of their lending library. They do work over there, so you can, you know, go and set up over there with a little net for yourself. It is first come, first serve, so if you get there and there's a bunch of kids playing, or kids, guys, women, whoever,
Mhm.
over there playing basketball, you have to wait your turn, you know, there's not one user group that has priority over
So
another.
we need to add the fact that those are there to our rental, like field use sort
The
of
pickleball?
agreement.
Yep, I'm gonna hit that all in the next second. So, and Chris also reported that he did some work behind the home plate dugout on the 90-foot diamond. It's just stuff that needed to be repaired, put some gravel or something down.
They're gonna store that net, there's no fall baseball, right, so they're gonna store that net.
I don't know, I
wherever it
didn't
is?
ask on
Because that
that.
net is
Yep,
out It's
Okay.
not, it's not up, but it's out,
I'll
kind of
ask.
sagging, and before
I'll ask.
winter time comes
Yep.
again.
I will ask on that. I will ask on that. I need to ask on the toddler playground equipment at Wallace is not been installed yet either. I don't know what the update is on that, so I will ask.
Insurance claims.
Yeah, because the
That
resident
was the
has to
stuff that was
recently-
broken.
That was the stuff that was broken during that crazy, somebody drove through it. Do you hear this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Has the fence been,
The fence looks to be repaired.
fences repaired?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and
Haven't
the
driven.
mulch had been, all the mulch was removed because it had broken glass from the tail light in it, and new mulch was put in, so overall, it looks pretty good down there. All right, so my update, yesterday, as you all know, Angela has left the town of Lunenburg for a full-time position. I think it was much needed for her to have those full-time benefits.
Yeah.
So I saw her
We
coming.
miss her.
Yep,
Yeah.
and she was great.
Yeah.
So, but yesterday, myself, Chris Ruth, and Julie Bellevaux interviewed a candidate for the rec director position. An offer did go out
Excellent.
yesterday. Whether or not this person accepts it, I don't know. It's, it sounded like they were trying to make their life a little bit easier going from a full-time position as a working mom to a part-time position, but not sure. We'll see, we'll see.
Okay,
what
so the part-time might be a plus for that
Correct,
individual
correct,
versus.
yeah. And she's very,
Negative.
very well versed in everything parks, including how to run a town beach. She has lifeguard certification, she
Oh,
does
wow.
CPR classes. She would be a tremendous asset to the town. So I knew about this interview last week, and I was gonna start pulling stuff together for, as you remember from our last meeting, our paperwork for renting of the fields and preserving of the fields all needs to be redone. And when I saw this coming down the pipeline, I'm like, gonna stop, because nobody's really gonna be filling out those forms anytime soon. We did have somebody use the fields in the fall, but we don't have anybody coming in through the winter months. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait for the assistance of this, if this person takes a job,
Yeah.
or even if it ends up being somebody else, hopefully an experienced person can lend a hand. So we do need to update all that, and I'm gonna work with them, because I think there's some other policy stuff. I had a meeting, myself, town manager, and somebody from the finance committee that has a background in Parks and Recreation. We had a sit down a month or two ago, and she was asking policies, everything under the sun, and I'm like, we don't got one. No, we don't have one of those either. Nope, we definitely don't have one. And she's looking at me, she's like, just create some policy. So I think there's some policy that needs to be done, and hopefully if we can get a recreation director that has some experience coming in under her belt, that she will be able to offer some guidance on what policy we should start with. So
Good.
just sort of frozen on that. You gave the open space committee update. Did anybody take a look at the July 30th minutes?
Yeah, looked
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I mean,
I wasn't there, but they were very informative.
This
I like
one
the
guy,
new-
It was great, I felt like I was at the meeting, and it was perfect, because I was looking to see what the discussion
He is
around,
so
it was
good,
like,
and
wow,
he's
I was
very-
there.
I almost felt bad about not having a meeting last month, because I'm like, I'm sure he's waiting for like minutes to come through. He is fantastic. I do minutes for another community in the state, and he's risen the bar, and I'm like, I don't want to hit that bar though. Like, it's a lot of work to get to that bar, but he does great. So if I can get a motion to approve the minutes of July 30th.
So moved.
motion approved.
Second, Chris?
Second, yeah.
You can approve it, you can move it, you can just do it all.
All in favor?
I didn't vote, even though I wasn't
You can
there,
vote,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah, they were excellent.
All right, upcoming meetings, I'd like to see if we can cover a couple of months, just so we can put them on our calendars. Our next
Okay.
upcoming meeting, if we stick with the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is the only Wednesday they can guarantee this room is available, would be October 22nd. We could also do the 29th, because that's the fifth fifth Wednesday of the month, and I know that's not taken. So we can do either one of those dates in October. Does one work better for someone?
I
They're
would,
both free for me.
Anita, we have no life. What do we
I
have?
would lean towards the 22nd only because the 29th, that's the,
You start getting into.
that's the
playouts
second to
and
last
you're-
night of float.
Okay,
Oh,
let's do
that.
it. Does the 22nd?
Homecoming is late, So I feel like
22nd,
between two classes. I'm
Let's
gonna
do
be-
October 22nd. Now, November, the 4th Wednesday is November 26th. That is the night before Thanksgiving. I would prefer not to do
Not
it
to
that
do
night.
that.
No.
So, and then if you look at December, the 4th Wednesday
Is the 24th?
in December is the 24th. I'm also not joining you folks on Christmas Eve. So I'm wondering if we should maybe either do something the first weekend of December instead of November and
Is
cover-
there another night that,
I can
is
always
open?
find us a room. I can always find us a room somewhere. It just isn't gonna be guaranteed to be here. Worst case scenario, we can always go to Zoom too. But I can always find us a room. We can do the library, we can do the DPW, we can be in the small room upstairs here. It's just this room specifically.
What would you say, December, are you saying like December
We could
3rd,
do-
December 10th? or
I mean,
something like
looking at, if you definitely wanted to do a meeting in November, we could do November 19th. Or if we want to skip November, we could do December 3rd and then not do another one until, or even December 10th and then not do something else until.
I would suggest that we choose a date in November, just because there
That's
might be
fine.
something
That's
going on with like, you know, RDLA
Yep,
and Skanska
agreed.
that we need to make decisions on.
What looks
So
good for
let's
you guys?
book that, and then we can cancel it if not needed. And then look at either, you know, some date in December, preferably earlier in the month. Because once you get, you know, into that weekend of the 20th, nobody's gonna be wanting to do anything, so.
I agree, earlier is better.
So what about either the 12th or the 19th of November?
Those are Fridays,
Those are
Wednesdays.
You in 2025?
oh, maybe, I'm off. Yeah, no, I'm not 2025.
Special town meeting is the 18th, right? It's fine.
That sounds right.
So what dates do you wanna look at?
We can look at anything in November. I threw out the 12th and the 19th.
So, then, I'd say the 19th.
Any,
that? Potentially should be fine, that maybe it's occupied for weekends during the holiday.
okay. And if you can't come anyway,
But
it's-
I'll figure that out.
we can
Ideally, we'd probably push further
With
earlier in the week or whatnot.
the
anyway.
19th
Yeah, that's
work for you?
fine. I think it doesn't write down the list one.
All right, I'm gonna put parks on for the 19th of November and the 22nd of October.
Hmm.
Do we wanna just deal with December once we hit November?
Do you want to tentatively add a December date if we don't need to
Okay.
meet on the,
Wanna do
I would say
so we could do an
the
early
3rd or
December,
the 10th.
like an early December date? If we didn't need to meet in November, we could just meet in early December.
Yeah.
I wanna do
Is
the
it the
10th?
And then we can just, you know, in January, then
We'll
we'll be
figure
able to
that
just go to whatever. a normal-
Back to normal.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, that's done there.
So the locations on the 19th and the 10th are questionable.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. And I'll go back and look if the assessor's office isn't, or the Board of Assessors isn't doing anything, we'll be able to use this room. I don't know what their schedule is. I think they've discussed it, so I'll just pull up one of their meetings and look at their dates. And if we have any other business, correspondence and announcements, we did get that email forwarded from Chris Ruth about somebody looking to sponsor a team. Did you see that, Chris? We don't have anybody for them to sponsor.
I didn't reach out to
Right now,
her,
but-
he suggested she reach out to the first team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that-
that's
So I
there.
figured that was fine.
I
That's-
wasn't
yeah.
gonna,
And, one other thing, while Jared Bowser's on here and staring me right in the face that I didn't put in my chair. The beach had a successful season after it had to close for a few days at the tail end of the season because they had, I think it was E. coli in the water. We had to close for a number of days. It did reopen, we finished off the season. Jared was kind enough to provide a bunch of updates on things that he thinks could be better for next year, things that he might want to change. He is planning, he will probably disappoint me again. He is planning on coming back. He's told me 2 years in a row he wasn't coming back, and I get very disappointed. But he says this year he's coming back next year. So hopefully if that's the case, he'll return in the same position, and he'll be able to implement some of those ideas. So
thank you, Jared.
Great, thank you, Jared.
yeah, it's awesome. So I think we are all set. Motion to adjourn at 8:39.
So moved.
Second?
I won't say anything.
All in favor?
Do you want to approve it?
So moved.
All in favor, aye.